The film begins by depicting the 6th century, in a vast kingdom that stretches from the deserts of China to the Mediterranean coast. This kingdom is Persia, known for its massive army, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, and its unbroken string of victories in war. At that time, the Persian Empire is ruled by a king named Shahriman. He has a younger brother named Nizam, who serves as his advisor. King Shahriman also has 2 sons, Tus and Garsiv. One day, while King Shahriman is walking through the city, he comes across a lively young boy named Dastan, who is helping his friend escape from soldiers after stealing an apple. Dastan is exceptionally skilled at jumping between buildings, making it difficult for the soldiers to catch him. However, Dastan is eventually captured and brought before King Shahriman. Upon learning that Dastan is an orphan, the king feels pity for him and adopts him, making Dastan a prince. 15 years later, Prince Tus and Garsiv are leading a campaign against the Koskin army when they accidentally pass through the sacred city of Alamut. Tus is captivated by the beauty of the city, which is under the protection of King Shahriman. However, their uncle Nizam warns that Alamut hides many betrayals. Soon after, the Persian spies accidentally uncover an illegal weapons trade between Alamut and Persia's enemy, the Koskin kingdom. Trusting Nizam, Tus becomes angry and begins planning an attack on Alamut without his father's knowledge. To carry out his plan, Tus summons his younger brother Dastan, who is dueling with one of Persia's soldiers at the time. That night, the 3 brothers gather to discuss the attack on Alamut. At that moment, Nizam presents swords and bows made by Alamut, which are believed to have been sold to their enemies. Dastan disagrees, arguing that their true mission is to attack Koskan, not Alamut. Despite this, Dastan is unable to stop Tus from going ahead with his plan and can only respect his decision. Tus then mentions that Alamut has a beautiful princess. If they succeed in conquering the city, Tus plans to make her his 5th wife. Hearing this, Dastan volunteers to lead the first assault on Alamut, but Tus declines and assigns the task to Garsiv. As dawn approaches, Garsiv launches an attack on Alamut's main gate, while Dastan, along with his friend Bis and other companions, secretly infiltrate the city to open the eastern gate. This allows the Persian army to quickly seize Alamut without losing many lives. Once the eastern gate is opened, Tus and Garsiv lead their troops in an all-out attack. Meanwhile, the beautiful princess of Alamut, Tamina, becomes alarmed upon learning that her city is under attack by the Persians. As a result, Tamina rushes to the sacred temple to retrieve a mystical weapon, a dagger filled with sand that gives its wielder the ability to turn back time, allowing them to correct mistakes or relive events. Tamina then handed the dagger of time to her aide, instructing them to flee to safety. Unfortunately, as the aide was about to leave the city, they were intercepted by Dastan, who quickly overpowered them. At that moment, Dastan discovered the wrapped cloth containing the dagger of time. Intrigued by its unique and appealing design, Dastan decided to keep the dagger. After a while, the Persian forces successfully conquered the city of Alamut. Tamina was captured and brought before Tus. During this time, Nizam questioned Tamina, asking why Alamut had been supplying weapons to Koskan, Persia's enemy. However, Tamina denied all accusations from Nizam, claiming that Alamut had no blacksmiths capable of making weapons. Tus then proposed marriage to Tamina, suggesting that by doing so, Alamut would become part of the Persian Empire. At that moment, Tamina noticed that Dastan had the dagger of time tucked into his belt. As a result, she accepted Tus' proposal with the intention of reclaiming the dagger from Dastan. Afterward, Tus praised Dastan for helping the assault through the eastern gate. Dastan then proudly showed Tus the dagger he had found. But suddenly, Nizam interrupted their conversation and instructed Tus to meet with their father back in Persia. Tus and Nizam then met with King Shahriman, who was furious over his actions in attacking the sacred city of Alamut. Tus explained to King Shahriman about the alleged weapon supply that Nizam had reported. However, King Shahriman refused to believe it, as Alamut had no blacksmiths, and being a sacred city, it was unworthy of such an attack. Tus eventually took full responsibility for the assault on Alamut and decided to search for evidence of Alamut's betrayal on his own. Upon returning to Alamut, He met Dastan and gave him a traditional Alamut robe to present as a gift to King Shahriman during the celebration. Tus also instructed Dastan to present Tamina to the king. If their father disapproved of his marriage to Tamina, Dastan was to eliminate her. Later, Dastan brought Tamina before King Shahriman at the celebration. King Shahriman praised Dastan for his bravery and said that to maintain strong bonds between brothers, they must possess an unbreakable sword. Dastan then presented the white robe, a gift from Tus, to the king. After putting on the robe, King Shahriman announced that he would not approve Tus' marriage to Tamina, as Tus already had many wives. Instead, the king declared that Tamina would marry Dastan, the brave warrior. However, suddenly, the robe worn by King Shahriman caught fire, causing the king's tragic death. Garsiv, who was present at the scene, immediately accused Dastan of killing their father. As a result, all the soldiers then attacked Dastan. During this time, Bis managed to rescue Dastan from being captured, but unfortunately, he lost his life during the rescue. At the same time, Tamina quickly grabbed Dastan, and the two of them escaped by jumping into the water. Afterward, they rode horses to flee from the kingdom. After the incident, Tus expressed his grief over the murder of King Shahriman. He sent messages to all the other kingdoms, asking them to capture Prince Dastan. That night, Dastan and Princess Tamina took a break from their escape. Dastan told Tamina that the white robe was given to him by Tus. As a result, Dastan suspected that Tus had laced the robe with a burning poison to kill their father and frame him as the murderer, allowing Tus to take control of the throne. While pretending to listen to Dastan's story, Tamina moved closer and attempted to steal the dagger of time. However, Dastan noticed her actions, and the two ended up fighting. During the struggle, the dagger was knocked to the ground. Dastan quickly retrieved it and accidentally pressed the button, unleashing its power to rewind time by 1 minute, just before Tamina attacked him. Afterward, Tamina tried to strike again, and Dastan pressed the dagger's button once more, rewinding time to just before her assault. Now familiar with her moves, Dastan blocked all her attacks and revealed that he understood the power of the dagger. He believed that Tus was after the dagger because of its incredible abilities. Dastan also thought that the dagger could help him go back in time to prevent his father's death and expose Tus' treachery. However, the dagger could no longer work its magic, as the sand inside the hilt had run out. Tamina then explained to Dastan that the sand within the hilt was no ordinary sand. The next day, Dastan decided to go to his father Sherman's burial, which would take place in Afrad. His goal was to deliver a message to Nizam to prove his innocence. Dastan also planned to reveal Tus' true intentions of pursuing the dagger for its power. Along the way, Tamina suddenly fainted, and Dastan tried to wake her up. To his surprise, it was a trap, as Tamina suddenly struck Dastan, knocking him unconscious. When Dastan regained consciousness, he found himself surrounded by a group of bandits led by a businessman and organizer of ostrich races, named Shikamar. Unexpectedly, Dastan negotiated with a Mars group to capture Tamina. Once Tamina was caught, Dastan retrieved his dagger and instructed Amar to make Tamina a slave. However, Dastan and Tamina were then taken to the ostrich race arena. At that moment, Dastan tried to make his escape, but Amar stopped him, knowing that he was a fugitive from the kingdom. It turned out the bandits attempted to take the dagger and planned to deliver Dastan to Prince Tus, who had just been crowned king. In the chaos that ensued, Dastan managed to escape from the bandits, reclaim his dagger, and flee with Tamina through a cave. The two then continued their journey toward Afrad. Upon arriving, Dastan snuck into one of the carriages carrying his father's body and slipped a message to Nizam for a secret meeting. After the burial, Nizam met Dastan in a secluded room. Dastan tried to explain his innocence, claiming that he had been framed by Tus, who was actually after the dagger of time. To prove this, Dastan showed Nizam the dagger, but to his shock, the dagger had been swapped by Tamina with a simple nail clipper. At that moment, Dastan noticed burn marks on Nizam's hands, as if they had been touched by the same burning poison. This made Dastan suspicious that Nizam was the true culprit behind King Shahriman's murder. His suspicions were confirmed when Nizam had set an ambush for Dastan, prompting him to quickly escape the room while being pursued by Nizam's men. During the escape, Dastan encountered Garsiv, who was furious. Dastan attempted to explain the situation, but Garsiv refused to listen and attacked him. Fortunately, Dastan managed to defeat Garsiv and left a Frad to find Tamina. That night, Nizam, aware that Dastan had discovered the truth, tried to convince King Tus and Garsiv that Dastan was plotting to overthrow them and should be executed without trial. However, Tus refused, insisting that, as his brother, Dastan should be punished justly. Failing to persuade Tus to kill Dastan, Nizam went to a secret temple. At that place, a group of mercenary warriors known as the Hasansins awaited. Nizam requested that the leader of the Hasansins eliminate Dastan and recover the Dagger of Time. On the other hand, Dastan found Tamina sleeping in the middle of the desert. During this time, a sandstorm suddenly struck, forcing them to take shelter inside a tent. While seeking refuge, Dastan revealed to Tamina that Nizam was the mastermind behind everything. He explained that the attack on Alamut was based on false accusations made by Nizam. After Alamut was conquered, Nizam targeted the Dagger of Time and planned to use it along with a large hourglass hidden beneath the city. By doing so, Nizam could return to his past, to the moment when he saved King Shahraman from a lion attack. It turned out, Nizam intended to undo the rescue, allowing Shahraman to die and making Nizam the king. However, Tamina explained that the sunglass is a vessel holding the sands of time, which the gods created to punish humanity for its sins. If the Dagger of Time is used to break the sunglass, the sands would be unleashed, destroying the entire world. Yet, the person wielding the dagger would be able to turn back time as far as they wished. Understanding this, Dastan and Tamina set aside their differences and focused on protecting the dagger from falling into Nizam's hands. Before they continued their journey, Tamina gave the remaining sands of time to Dastan to use in emergencies. Not long after, while resting in an oasis, they were captured again by Sheikh Ammar and his group. Ammar's goal was to trade Dastan for a reward from King Tus. That night, as everyone slept, the leader of the Hasansins attacked Ammar's group using snakes he controlled from a distance. At the same time, Dastan immediately used the dagger to rewind time, memorizing the snake attacks, and was able to defeat them easily. Now indebted to Dastan, Sheikh Ammar and his assistant, Siso, decided not to turn him into Tus. The next morning, they made a plan to travel to a secret sanctuary in the mountains near India, where they hoped to seal the Dagger of Time by returning it to its original place. However, to do this, Tamina would have to sacrifice herself. When they arrived at the sanctuary, they found that all the guards had been killed. At the same time, Garsiv and his group arrived. This time, Garsiv didn't attack Dastan, as he had learned of Nizam's evil deeds. Dastan and Garsiv then made plans to inform Tus that Nizam was responsible for killing King Shahraman. During this time, the Hasansins suddenly attacked, throwing spikes to kill them. The attack resulted in many deaths among Sheikh Ammar's men. Meanwhile, Dastan and Tamina began the ritual to return the dagger to its place, but it was interrupted by one of the Hasansins, causing Tamina to faint. While Dastan was busy fighting off the Hasansin soldiers, the leader of the Hasansins used his snake to steal the dagger and fled to Nizam. As Dastan was about to be killed by one of the Hasansins, Garsiv regained consciousness and saved his brother. Garsiv then asked Dastan to save the kingdom before dying. After that attack, Tamina, Dastan, Siso, and Sheikh Ammar decided to head to Alamut to reveal the truth about Nizam to Tus. Meanwhile, the leader of the Hasansins handed the Dagger of Time to Nizam. While waiting for the sunglass to be located, Nizam stored the dagger in Alamut's sacred temple. Upon arriving at Alamut, Dastan and Ammar tasked Siso with retrieving the dagger from the temple. Siso entered the sacred temple, where he confronted the Hasansin who had killed Garsiv. The two engaged in a fierce weapon-throwing duel, and in the end, Siso, who was also skilled at throwing, managed to defeat the Hasansin. However, unbeknownst to him, Siso had also been struck by a spike. Before dying, Siso threw the Dagger of Time out of the temple, where it was caught by Tamina and Ammar. With the dagger in hand, Ammar distracted the guards by pretending to be Dastan. Meanwhile, Dastan and Tamina went to meet Tus to reveal the truth about Nizam and the dagger. At that moment, Dastan demonstrated the dagger's power, explaining how it worked. Once Tus understood, Dastan intentionally made it seem like he had died. Shortly after Dastan's death, Nizam appeared, surprised to see the dagger. Remembering Dastan's explanation, Tus activated the dagger, rewinding time just before Dastan died. As Tus tried to stop Dastan from repeating the act, Nizam suddenly killed Tus, and Dastan was incapacitated by one of the Hassasins, allowing Nizam to reclaim the dagger. After Nizam left, Tamina arrived to help Dastan, successfully defeating the Hassasin. At that moment, Tamina realized that the Hassasins were spies from Alamut and had informed Nizam about the dagger. Nizam then made his way to the Sunglass Cave, using a well previously dug by his men. Knowing this, Dastan and Tamina rushed to stop him by opening a secret gate leading to the cave where the sunglass was kept. Unfortunately, the gate crumbled to pieces, but Dastan, with his agility, managed to reach the sunglass. At the same time, the leader of the Hassasins attacked Dastan, and a fierce battle ensued. With the help of Tamina, Dastan was able to defeat his enemy, sending him plunging into the well. Tamina then reached the sunglass, where Nizam was already waiting. As their frustration grew, they fought, and in the chaos, Tamina accidentally fell into the well. Dastan grabbed her hand, but Tamina urged him to stop Nizam. She then confessed her deep feelings for Dastan and sacrificed herself so that he could survive. Dastan then confronted Nizam just as he was about to plunge the dagger into the sunglass. The two fought over the dagger, causing the sunglass to crack. As it broke, a sandstorm began to destroy Alamut. However, before the storm could spread, Dastan pressed the dagger's button, activating its power and rewinding time. Dastan returned to the moment when he first found the dagger from Tamina's aid during the attack on Alamut, where everyone was still alive and well. Using his knowledge of the future, Dastan exposed Nizam's evil plan to his brothers. Realizing that Dastan knew everything, Nizam tried to kill him, but Tus intervened and killed Nizam first. Afterward, Tus apologized to Princess Tamina for the attack on Alamut and offered Dastan in marriage to her. Tamina accepted and returned the Dagger of Time to Dastan. The two then spoke in a private room, where Tamina expressed her surprise at the sudden maturity in Dastan's behavior. And thus, the film ended. Moral lesson from the story: stealing a magical dagger might rewind time, but it won't rewind your bad life decisions. So maybe don't steal, or at least steal smarter things like apples.